Well, that's the problem, is atheism is fractured in that there's so many views and sub-views inside of philosophical things. Unfortunately, from my perspective, I have to know Roman Catholicism as well as the Catholics, Mormonism as well as the Mormons, philosophy as well as philosophy PhDs. And it becomes obvious at times. It's like, I'm sorry, I'm out of my league in this particular area. And it's just what it is. But I'm supposed to know everything. And when I get mocked when I don't know everything by atheists, oh, you don't know this? Sorry, I'm not omniscient. Thank you for thinking that I am, but I'm not.
And you make yourself, don't you make it worse for yourself when you make a claim like only the Christian worldview can account for something? Because then you have to, you've pitted yourself against everybody now.
Yep, that's correct. And I will continue to do that. Yes.
Awesome.
You've not done your research properly on chromosome 2. No, you're just not, you're an evolutionist. You haven't even studied it. You have not done your homework, which is typical of evolutionists. I had a guy who studies genetics. That's what he does. It's what his major is going to be. And I had him sit down. That's what he does. It's what his major is going to be. His major's going to be. And I had him sit down for 2 hours and teach me genetics. Not that I learned it, and not that I understood everything, because I certainly didn't. He lost me after about 15 minutes. You have not done your homework. And what he did at that point was, wasn't being insulting. He says, I'm going to have to break it way down low. I said, please do. And I was able to follow him more or less. But about an hour and a half into it, I looked at him and I said, wait a minute. It's impossible for this to have evolved. And he looked at me and said, exactly. His major's gonna be that. The complexity of the genetic processes, it's impossible for it to have evolved. It is so incredibly complex, the system on the mechanics and the genetics. It's so incredible. And he told me that he was just blown away that the professors would say that this stuff evolved. And the odds against it are odds against it are incredible. You have not done your homework, which is typical.
Awesome.
You've not done your research properly on chromosome 2. There's a lot of responses from the ID area about that really counters that evidence. I mean, I can tell you've not done your homework on that. What else is it you said? You're finding out junk DNA is not really junk DNA. Okay, I mean, I don't know if you've studied that either, probably not. Let me ask you, you ever studied epigenetics? You know what Lamarckianism is? No, you're just not, you're an evolutionist, you haven't even studied it. So Lamarckianism was discredited. Modern Lamarckianism is called epigenetics. You have not done your homework. His major's gonna be. I had him sit down for 2 hours and teach me genetics. Epigenetics, there's a lot of evidence coming out now that if epigenetics is true, it will destroy the theory of evolution in natural selection.
All right, zip it.
Because what epigenetics is saying is basically Lamarckianism, that there are environmental pressures that somehow activate and deactivate certain genes by genetic information, which would mean that the natural selection procedure that comes out of mutational degradation and alteration through mutation and genetic information would mean that the mutations and natural selection aren't the proper means by which genetic information surfaces.
When a problem comes along, you must zip it.
And it manifests. And so it's being basically ignored by a lot of people, but it can't be ignored, and it's gaining ground because the evidence supports it. How many transitional fossils are there of humans? Did you know that all the human fossils can fit on a pool table?
Look, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, Exhibit A.
You have not done your homework. And it becomes obvious at times. It's like, I'm sorry, I'm out of my league in this particular area. And it's just what it is. But I'm supposed to know everything. And when I get mocked when I don't know everything by atheists, oh, you don't know this?
Look, if you're going to accuse people who come onto your show of not having done their homework while somehow thinking 2 hours of education from a friend who plans on majoring in biology somehow justifies an assertion carrying the largest of all burdens, an impossibility claim that dawned on you as your hand was held by someone with like presuppositions and not much more in terms of education, and then hit the airwaves browbeating individuals who amazingly know less than you do, providing you the self-congratulatory illusion that somehow you've applied some principled approach to your pursuit of truth in these areas that you admit are foreign? Well, you deserve all the mockery you get. Were you not to talk out of your ass while using such speech to accuse others of having applied improper rigor, you might not get the flack you don't seem to appreciate. You're the seller of cheap wares, upset with the quality of the neighboring store's products. You're being a hypocrite, and you really ought to consider dialing back confidence in these things you know so little of. Stop punching yourself in the face, and we'll see you in round 4.
How does two-gender sexuality evolve? When you have one gender or non-gender protozoa that through meiosis, that's the wrong thing, but through cell division produces bisexuality. I don't mean in the homo sense. Oops, you got that wrong.